Man, Ankalaev kind of stole that show at the press conference today. Out of everyone up there, he was the only one who really had something that stood out. And this fight with Pereira, it's personal. And Ankalaev, he's not bad on the mic. Sometimes you just don't know, especially when a guy hasn't spoken much like English in public, but he handled himself extremely well, threw some shots, and made it extremely clear that he's coming in with something to prove. And here's the thing, out of everyone up there, he was the only one who really had something that stood out. You don't always expect that from a guy who's been mostly quiet his entire career, especially with the language barrier, but here, he was getting the better of Pereira. Now, I don't think Pereira is scared or anything despite what all those body language analysis on Twitter are saying. That's just reaching in my opinion, but I do think that this fight is getting personal. You can feel it all week, and Ankalaev was just pushing those buttons. He wasn't just sitting there, he was engaging, he was poking at Pereira, and honestly, he made his presence known more than anyone else up there. So basically what happened between the two in this press conference is that Alex came out and said Chama, and he got a big cheer. No surprise there, to be honest, but all Pereira had to do is say the word Chama and the crowd erupted. That's how locked in they are for him. Meanwhile, Ankalaev, he couldn't even get a question thrown his way without getting booed. The second someone so much as mentioned his name, the crowd just started letting him have it. This was a very pro Alex Pereira crowd, no questions about it. But Ankalaev, he didn't care. If anything, he welcomed it. He had a few moments up there, and honestly, he handled it very well. At one point, he just fired back and said, Chama, time is over. The crowd will love me after this fight. That's a solid line. You could tell that he wasn't rattled. If anything, he was just feeding off that energy. He basically said, I don't care if I'm getting booed. This is only going to fuel me, power me up. Every single person's against me, and I like that. Because Ankalaev has always had this reputation of just being another bland Dagestani fighter in the light heavyweight division, mainly because he never really showed much personality like an Islam Makhachev or a Khabib, and yeah, at first glance, I get why people see him that way. But honestly, over time, the guy has built an aura around himself, especially after everything he's been through. You can tell that he's confident. That being said, I'm still riding with Alex this Saturday, but man, Ankalaev was carrying this press conference on his back. And that's the kind of mentality you want to see. He knows he's walking into enemy territory, and instead of being shy and shying away from it, he's embracing it. Right now, the crowd is all on Pereira, but if Ankalaev goes out there and dominates, he's betting that they're going to switch up real quick. Chama, time is over and the crowd is gonna love me. That's a fighter who believes he's leaving with the belt. So everything was just rolling along, and then the Russian reporter just had to go in and ask that wild question about sending Alex Pereira back to the tire shop. And man, you could see the switch flip in Pereira's head as a translator started repeating the question. His face changed. Like if he ever forgot why he started sending people to the Shadow Realm, that was his reminder right there. It was almost like watching him time travel back to those days, remembering the grind, remembering the struggle, everything that led him to this moment. And Ankalaev, bro was just sitting there laughing. He loves this kind of stuff, you know. You can kind of tell he enjoys it, you know, the trolling, the throwing, the little jabs, and he's just messing around. I didn't really know if he had much of a personality before, like I mentioned earlier, but in this build-up, yeah, he's showing that he likes playing the mental game. Maybe it's getting to Pereira's head, maybe it doesn't. Or maybe he's exactly where Pereira wants him to be, thinking this is all just fun and games before the cage door locks. Because I don't think these mind games are going to mess with Alex at all. If anything, we got to remember Jamal Hill was talking a lot of trash leading up to their fight. And yeah, Alex looked pissed, like he was generally surprised Hill switched up on him. But when it came to the fight, he walked in there and knocked out Hill in the first round. If those mind games didn't shake him then, I don't see this one messing with him now either. Moving on, they asked Alex another question, and I forgot what the question was, but I just remember his response. His response was like, Ankalaev isn't anything different than anyone I've ever fought before, but I'm different than anyone he's ever fought. And you know what? That got a reaction. The crowd started chanting Chama, Pereira smirked, and Ankalaev, he just sat there, cool as ever, smirking right back. It was like something straight out of a movie. Pereira looked locked in, staring Ankalaev down like he already pictured the knockout. But Ank, he didn't look phased at all. He was just chilling. Nothing seemed to bother him. Not the booze, not Pereira's energy, nothing. Mentally, he seemed like the kind of guy that just does not care what the crowd thinks. And that's the thing a lot of people aren't really talking about. If Ankalaev wins this fight, after all this trash talk, his stock is going to go through the roof. He'll go from just being another solid, underrated contender to having this aura of a dominant, no-nonsense killer. But it's a double-edged sword because if he loses, man, you already know where he's going to end up. He's going to end up in one of those YouTube compilations, you know, when trash talk goes horribly wrong. The slow zoom in, the sad music, Pereira's highlighter playing in the background while Ankalaev quotes are repeated in black and white. It's just how the game works, you know. So he's rolling the dice here. If he backs up the talk, he's the guy. If he doesn't, the internet's gonna have a field day with this dude. Let's talk about something real quick. How big is Pereira actually? Because I swear every time you see him next to his opponent, you start thinking this dude is not a light heavyweight. He's listed at 6'4", but I swear he's got to be 6'5". And the weight, forget about it. Ankalaev's walking around like what, probably 220 pounds. Pereira's probably coming in at 232 plus. Easy. And it's not like Ankalaev is small. He's a normal size light heavyweight, but Pereira makes everyone look undersized. And that's the crazy part. This guy used to fight at middleweight. We're literally talking about a borderline heavyweight who spends most of his career at 185. That's insane. And you know what's wild about Pereira? He loves being the champion, like generally loves it. You see so many champions get tired of the spotlight, exhausted by all the media, the pressure, the constant demands, but Pereira, he's embracing it. He enjoys the process. He's consistently interacting with his fans, doing interviews, feeding off the energy. Look at how fast he came back after beating Yuri. Just a month and a half later, he was already back to fighting again. If we're being honest, the UFC in 2024 wouldn't have been the same without him. Because here's the thing, most champions at some point start feeling the weight of all of it. You know, they get burned out, they take long breaks, they start talking about how the belt is more of a burn than a reward. And how many times have we heard fighters said that after losing their belt, they felt like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders? But with Pereira, that energy just isn't there. He loves this. He's happy to be that guy. He's happy to be that guy. He plays into the crowd. He soaks it all in, and you never get the sense that he's getting tired of it. And as a fan, that's something you want to see, a champion who actually wants to be a champion. But when the fight goes down, if Pereira knocks Ankalaev down, you know he's not letting him off the hook. He's going to land some super necessary ground and pound. But if Ankalaev wins, we're talking about a guy who would have the second longest streak in light heavyweight history, right behind Jon Jones. If he wins, he'll be sitting on a 14-fight win streak, just 4 fights away from tying Jon Jones. And if he gets the belt, you gotta start wondering, can he hold it? Because I think Yuri would be a tough fight for him. But outside of that, he could definitely make a real run. Overall, this press conference was alright. Like I said earlier, Magomed was the only one that was carrying it. Alex was just being Alex, and Gagey and Rafael Fiziev were just having fun, answering questions, nothing too crazy. But this press conference definitely sold the main event, especially for the casual fans. I was already hyped for this fight, but Ankh talking all that trash on Twitter this week just added to it. Then Alex calling him out for breaking his Ramadan fast to cut weight. And what's crazy is that Magomed actually admitted it. The whole exchange just made the fight even bigger. The storyline is selling itself. And at this point, I really can't wait for this Saturday. But what do you guys think? Who do you guys have winning this Saturday? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.